The following broadcast may contain explicit language and adult themes. Viewer discretion is advised. The opinions expressed in this broadcast are those of the hosts, talent, and guests, and do not reflect the opinions, views, and standards of Pyro Media Enterprises, affiliates, subsidiaries, or its members.
And you better talk to me nicely. Next to blow, little bitch, I might be. Oh, can't forget all the days they overpriced me. So now that we up, don't good advice we know. Talk to me nicely. I know that they hit it, we getting icy. Whoa, can't forget all the moments they overpriced me. So now that we up, don't good advice we know. We on top, flipping the bird, they going sick. But I'ma make a meet every.
Hey, everybody. It is I, Hope Giselle, and baby, it is my first episode of I Have Thoughts with Hope Giselle. Now, if you have followed me on any of the other social medias and social webs and all of that stuff, okay, you know that I have another show, and we're not going to talk about it, but we could talk about it on that show. But it's a different feel, right? We have a bunch of different conversations, and I have listened, I have learned, and the folks at Pyro Media Network and my family at Pyro Media Network, you know, they have told me that the people want to hear what I have to say about some of the things that are happening socially. And let's just say I have a lot of things that are happening and my thoughts about some stuff that's going on socially. So we're just going to jump into it. The setup for this show is that I have about 4 different topics that I'm going to bring to y'all since this is my first one. And we're going to talk through them. We're going to get a couple of thoughts. We're going to get some, stuff going. And then I'm going to ask y'all a cute little question at the end about what you have thoughts about. So without further ado, because we got a lot of ground to cover, I'm going to hit y'all with Brian McKnight, right? Brian McKnight has been a staple in the community for a while. And when I say Brian McKnight has been a staple in the community, I mean Black community, okay? And so I gotta jump in because I was on the Twitters, and y'all know Black Twitter is real good for like zhuzhing up things that you had no idea were even a thing to begin with, right? And as I'm scrolling through the Twitters, the Black Twitters, I run across these photos, right? And for a lot of people, a lot of folks are just like, what's happening with Brian McKnight? What's going on with his family? Like, why are these kids not really looking like his kids? And what also happened, and what's the comparison between wife number 1 and wife number 2, and the ways in which people are kind of sort of celebrating, and in the ways in which Brian is celebrating both of those different dynamics. And one of the things that I want to say about this is that we have this conversation really often as it pertains to Black men and as it pertains to folk within the Black community, and even the conversation as it pertains to like interracial dating with women and the double standard. Now, before we jump into the conclusions that, here is another Black woman hating on a Black man for being with somebody that wasn't a Black woman, or whatever the case may be, this is not that. This is just me wanting to show how colorism plays a role in your life, no matter how famous you are, and how oftentimes people will uplift one thing over the other. Now, it's not to say that Brian does not love his kids. This is not my idea of him as a father, or this isn't just me like picking apart how I think he is as a father. This is just me simply saying that there's a different dynamic and dichotomy now that these kids are grown, right? And now that these kids are doing their own thing and kind of sort of moving and shaking, what I'm seeing is that there are photos of him in this new marriage with these children that really lean towards a Eurocentric sort of ideal that is showing up on his socials and kind of sort of being more ingrained in his overall image that we did not get when he was with his first wife and the kids were given, young downranger Black children. Like we were not getting that type of vibe or energy from him before. And I'm not sure if there's just a new climate around social media in general, right? Like there's a new way of like celebrities like inundating us in their life. But what I do want to say is that to me, it's also given like, I did the white thing, which is the right thing. Now, some of y'all are going to correct me and be like, oh, she's not white. She's a person of color. And because this is a different show and I don't feel the need to be as PC as I usually am, and this is just me, giving my thoughts and telling y'all what I think about things, in the colloquial sense, it is not to say that I am doing away with our POC brothers and sisters and all that jazz and all about others, but it is to say that when I'm talking about Black people, I mean Black people, and anybody that's not Black is usually white, right? And so as ignorant as that is, and as much as I'm going to acknowledge my ignorance on that, I have to be honest and simply say that if we are not very specific about saying when something is just not Black, and not calling it a POC sort of deal, the folks on the outside of the margins don't understand that. When we say POC, oftentimes like white folks will look at something and say, oh, that means everybody except the Black people. And then they put Black people at the bottom of that list. So it'll be like Pacific Islander. It'll be like Asian. It'll be like, this Eurocentric version of what it means to be Dominican, Puerto Rican, or Cuban, like all of those things. And then at the end of it, they'll be like, okay, and also Black, right? And then they came up with BIPOC and they tried to put the Black in front, and people still be like, oh, so when you say BIPOC, you mean like an Asian person is on staff, right? And I'm just over that, right? So when I'm talking about Black issues and Black people and things about Black folk, I'm just going to be very transparent and surface level on it, because most of the time when we're having colloquial conversation, that's what we're talking about, okay? So without further ado, she ain't Black. And so it's giving very Eurocentric. And I think that that's a part of the trophy for a lot of Black men. And here's the dichotomy that I want to present to everybody. So I know that there's going to be some mad Black heterosexual cisgender man that's going to say, why are you coming for him, but y'all don't do the same thing when it's Serena? Because they love to use Serena. The only time Black men want to talk about Serena Williams is when they want to talk about how big her ass is, or how they feel like she did Black men wrong by marrying a Black man. Okay, but here's the get you gotcha about that. We saw Serena Williams go through Black man after Black man after Black man. One of them was Drake, right? And then we also saw Serena be dissed by Black man after Black man after Black man, one of them including Drake, right? Because Aubrey could not take the idea that people didn't believe or think that she was on his caliber, even though she was famous before Drake was ever even thought of, right? Before Drake ever made his first appearance as Wheelchair Billy, you know what I'm saying, on Degrassi, this woman was goddamn winning titles and breaking records with her sister and all of the things. But social media and other Black men were like, she's giving masculine. I don't know how I feel about that, bro. You might want to pull back and retract. And he did. And so when we talk about the idea of that specific comparison, because a lot of Black men want to say, oh, like y'all clapped up Serena though when she got her a white man, it was because of the nature, right, of societal culture as it pertains to Black women, and specifically as it pertains to Black women who don't exude femininity in a Eurocentric way, which is already a lose-lose battle if you ask me, because as Black women, there are just certain things that we cannot help. We're more statuesque, we are more muscular, we show up a different way. When Black women enter the space, whether you ghetto, ratchet, degreed or not, bitch, it comes with a poise, a presence, or something. And that's the reason why a lot of these bitches know to keep their motherfucking mouth closed when you at the counter with me, because Karen, I don't give a shit if I'm a doctor or a felon, I will beat your ass in the middle of this Chick-fil-A, and don't get it twisted, right? There's something that's innate about the energy of Black women when we step into space. And I think that because of that, and because of the way that femininity was defined, and because of the person that femininity was defined upon or around, it was never set up for Black women to see ourselves as fully feminine, which means that it was never set up for Black men to acknowledge that innate femininity in Black women, unless it shows up in a way that feels Eurocentric. And so I think that that is the difference when we're having this conversation surrounding Black men who are dating people because they feel like it's a status symbol of like coming up on something, versus Black women who can also acknowledge that there's like a colloquial sense of like, oh, it's a come up. But usually when you see a Black woman with a white man, it's because she really didn't have any other choices and she had tried everything else and was still getting nowhere. Or because she doesn't show up in this very traditional sense of what people want to believe that femininity has to look like in order for them to support it. And that's just what it is. I think that that's what's happening here. I do believe that all the members and parts of, Brian McKnight's family are real cute, but I do want to hold him accountable for the fact that when he's been posting like these latest pictures or whatever, a lot of this like family love looks real like pepper and the speck of grits. You know what I'm saying? Like, it looks like that one speck of pepper in the grit bowl. And there's something that's really interesting about that to me that I don't think I can get over. And I just wanted y'all to, I want to know what y'all think, because those are my thoughts. I have thoughts about that. I can go deeper, and we might even do another episode about that and have somebody on to like really discuss that as a person who's in an interracial relationship. Y'all let me know in the comments if y'all want that. But now I'm going to segue into a little bit of a different topic, because we have to jump into what's about to happen. It is my monster every year. And every queer person gets into this, y'all, but Pride, bitch. Pride is coming up, and they are about to pink wash us to death. Okay, they are about to pink wash us to death. Now, for those of you all who are unfamiliar with the pink washing, let me get into what pink washing is, right? So pink washing is exactly what this photo right here, right, looks like. The idea of taking the dollars and all of the e-commerce and all of those things from queer people, and for the month of June, running that shit up like you a city girl in a Chanel store. Okay, a city girl in a Chanel store ain't got nothing on the pink washing people of Pride, girl. Because when I tell y'all, there's something that is just, I don't know what it is, y'all, but when it comes down to it, our little gay and queer and trans dollars do not matter any other time of the year. They don't see us for real. It's giving very much so diversity, equity, and inclusion on the 14th floor. It's not a mandatory training, but get into it, right? Like, it's giving very that the rest of the year. But girl, come June, they are pink, they are blue, they are red, they are yellow, they are doing the things, girl. And that to me is so interesting, because there's this need for every single person come June the 1st to be like, we are so in support, and we're gonna sell every gay thing that we've ever made in our entire, warehouse, in order to make sure that we can reach the bottom line. And what a lot of people don't understand about pink washing is that not only is it performative as fuck, but it's also another way to do Black Friday, but for an entire month. Follow me, but don't follow me, but follow me, okay? So we understand now, as we've gotten older, that Black Friday is not this like huge thing that's just great for everybody, and people are doing Black Friday because there are so many awesome deals. If you have ever worked in retail, or if you've ever like heard the real story behind the Black Friday and why people do it, it's because they are trying to pull their numbers out of the red. And by doing these crazy deals that just seem like they're too good to be true, a lot of folks are able to recoup a lot of losses. This is where all that insurance money from people stealing and stuff throughout the rest of the year comes into play. And they're able to just kind of sort of like do a bunch of different things with this money. Well, think of June and think of Pride as Pink Friday. No Nicki Minaj. Right? Right. So think of June as Pink Friday, no Nicki. And so June is literally an entire month where people take a risk, because honestly, it is a risk depending on what company is doing it. So folks are willing to take the risk that if they create something that is specifically geared for a specific community and sell it to this group during a month that is supposed to be dedicated to them, they'll be able to recoup some of their losses very early on, and even be able to table and hold some money aside for other emergencies. And the reason why this is an issue, and the reason why I have a lot of thoughts about this, is because none of that money usually goes back to people that actually need it. Most of that money is being siphoned away for queer white folks who do not need a lot of it, because, I mean, no tea, no shade, but the Trevor Project and HRC and Gilead is giving millions upon millions of dollars to all of the white-led queer organizations. And you can say what you want to say, but baby, we all know, right? We know where that money goes. We know where it be at. It don't be in our communities, but it be over there. That money be flowing over there. It's like a, don't go chasing waterfalls, but if you don't, there ain't no grant money for you, right? Like that's really what it be giving, right? Like, if you don't go chase after it, like the Trevor Project and Gilead and Glad, baby, they gonna give it to the white people. They gonna give it to them over there. And there's something that's really sinister about the idea of pink washing, because oftentimes, and especially now within the last couple of years, we've seen that people will use the stories of Black, brown, and queer folk to promote this stuff, right? So you'll see all of the girls, cat, 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 booty, cat, 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 booty, cat, 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 right? Like you see all the girls doing the things. And you see everybody doing the Nike campaigns and the Adidas campaigns, and the girls are on Calvin Klein, but the money is not going to the communities that those girls and boys and our babies and our thems and our non-binary and gender non-conforming siblings are never a part of that. And that is also a thing to me, because it's one of those things where if you're going to pink wash me, at least give the money back to communities that are actually going to benefit from it. Because oftentimes those millions of dollars that they give to the Trevor Project and GLAAD and Gilead and all of that stuff, do you not know that $5,000 to a grassroots organization sometimes feels like $1 million? Do you not understand that there are Black and brown queer children that are stuck without a home, that have horrible foster care situations? And if the Trevor Project gave half of their budget to those people, there would be so many less disenfranchised Black and brown queer youth just in the city, right, of New York by itself. And there are not enough people talking about that. And so I feel like there's a couple of things. If you're gonna pink wash me or do all of the things for the pride, make sure that you're giving to the most marginalized of us, because the idea of y'all taking this money and giving it to people who, I'm not gonna say don't deserve it, but giving it to folks who genuinely, are better off in a lot of situations, it's kind of like meh, you know what I'm saying? Like it's not giving what it's supposed to have gave, and I really can't get into it in the way that a lot of people want me to get into it. But tis what it is. It ain't what it ain't. So I'm being told that we have to run to a commercial break, and so I'm gonna let y'all sit on the pink tags because we have 2 more topics to focus on before we come back. And when we get back, it's gonna get real juicy because I got thoughts. Stay with us.
Talk to me nicely. Next to blow, little bitch, I might be. Oh, can't forget all the days they overpriced me. So now that we...
This episode is sponsored in part by Bullet and Flight Radio. Get ready to uplift your spirit with Bullet and Flight Radio, the world's leading progressive Christian radio station. Experience the vibrant fusion of gospel house music and a rich medley of inspiration from all musical genres that'll make your heart soar. Join their extraordinary lineup of today's trailblazers, visionaries, and voices that matter, all sharing their stories and wisdom. Stay plugged in around the clock as they broadcast unmissable content 24/7. Your go-to station for all things inspiring. Become a pilot today by visiting bulletandflightradio.com. Bullet and Flight Radio. Your story, our station.
I noticed they hit it, we getting icy. Whoa, can't forget all the moments they overpriced me. So now that we up, don't get it.
All right, y'all, we are back, and I am so ready to jump into my next couple of topics. So we just got into the idea of pink washing, and I told y'all a little bit about that and the history that goes behind it. Now, once again, we can dig a little bit more sinister, but this is the first episode of I Have Thoughts, right? So I just want to give y'all a taste of what we got going on. But one of the things that I've been avoiding talking about has been Miss Dylan Mulvaney, okay? Now, to all of my cishet folks that are following Pyro Media Network, this is your first time watching this show. Y'all are like, okay, I like Hope. I like what she's getting into, but I don't know who some of these people are because I'm not queer. And that's okay. This show is not going to be queer-centric. But I got thoughts about some queer shit, okay? Dylan Mulvaney is, for all intents and purposes, a trans influencer who sparked to fame after releasing her journey, right, as a trans woman for the first 365 days of her transition. For a lot of people, this is not a problem. And for me, it wasn't a problem at first, okay? Because what happens is what always happens oftentimes is that there's a disproportionate way in which her transition was treated upon stepping into the world with her truth, and the way that the transitions of other people who have been doing it for eons were treated when they talked about stepping into their truth. And there's something real interesting about it. Before we get into this Bud Light controversy, because I'm pretty sure that a lot of you all have seen it, whether you know who Dylan is or why people have been doing it, I want to give y'all just the backstory. So this woman here, Dylan Mulvaney, came out on TikTok and she blew up when she was like, I'm going to record the first year of my time as a transgender woman. And she did so, but her transition in the first year included meeting the president, holding private space with the president and the vice president, going to the Grammy Awards, the VMAs. She was invited to everything that anybody was doing. She was an ambassador for Charlotte Tilbury. She's been, you know, able to bump herself up on the list of, you know, all of the top doctors in the world. Like, she's had facial femme by one of the top facial feminization doctors. Like, I've heard from the other girls that he got waiting lists for like 8 months. And somehow, some way, this woman who just decided that she was going to step into her truth 364 days ago manages to skip the line, and you know, now she's getting this facial femme. And it would be a difference if we could say like, oh, well, she's been trans for a couple of years, maybe she was in line. She just announced this, y'all. So this wasn't something that I think that she was just thinking about and she was just on the list. She got bumped up because of her celebrity, and I understand that that's cool. But what I also want to challenge people to understand and think about is the idea that a lot of this has to do not with what she is, but who she is, and the way that people are able to market, right, of the way that people are able to market off of who she is. Now, when folks say who's backing her, I'm glad you asked. CAA, which is a very popular, almost like one of the most notable management firms and agencies in the world, is backing Dylan Mulvaney. And this is another part of my problem, because a lot of my Black transgender sisters, one of them, Ashley Marie Preston, who commented this on my post, so I'm free to give y'all this information in this free game, but Ashley Marie Preston is also represented by CAA. If you don't know Ashley Marie Preston, get to know Ashley Marie Preston. She's that girl, and she's also a Black trans woman who has a very endearing story. She was, you know, hooked on all of the drugs. My sister was out here, you know, doing all of the things, overcame it all, and now is out here giving full-fledged TED Talk, you know, style sort of, you know, encouragement to the rest of the girls to make sure that they understand that there's life beyond addiction. And these are things that I think that people should be supporting. And for a while, CAA as a management agency was supporting that. Ever since Dylan has come on, the rest of the trans girls that have been signed to CAA, and this is a consensus, the only one that I can confirm is Ashley, but there's a consensus that the rest of the girls feel like they have not gotten work. And most of those girls are Black trans women, okay? So this is why this is a problem. On top of that, there's a need to address the fact that for 97% of trans women, that first 365 days of your transitioning is not going to the Grammys and meeting with the president. It sets this unrealistic expectation or standard for people that says that we are going to be treated with open arms and all of this loving stuff. Now, mind you, does she get her fair share of hate on the internet? Absolutely. But when it comes down to it, there's still not enough hate in the world to make me feel bad while I'm on my way to the Grammys. Because bitch, it's going to get very much so, like, say what you want to say, and I feel so bad about it, but like, I'm gonna sit next to Beyonce tonight, and like, there's just not enough like transmissia to make me feel bad enough, like as I'm smelling Lizzo's perfume like 2 feet away from me. Like, do you understand? Like, I'm only on day 286 of being a woman, and like while sitting in my premiere seat at the Grammys because they want to get me on camera to show that they did trans inclusion, like there's something like really bad like that happens when a person trolls me from their like patio in Iowa, like as I sit at the Grammys. Like there's just something like that makes me feel so bad as I look over and see Miley Cyrus like downing a pack of shrimp. Like there's I don't understand it, right? Like, but there's something that feels bad, right? Like I'm 286, right? Like, and I'm still getting trolled as I literally sit next to Gwyneth Paltrow and take pictures with Laverne Cox on the red carpet. Like, I have it so hard. Like I have it so hard, and there's just like there's not. Excuse me. I need some more drops. It's dried up. It dried. No, it dried. Like they're still on, but like they get it. Like they're here. I just need a couple more drops. Like, oh, okay. So they're more. Like it gives very that with her, and I really can't, because I'm here for every girl getting her coins, but what I'm not here for is the performative activism that turns into something completely different. So now to this Bud Light thing. A couple of weeks ago, Dylan Mulvaney received a Bud Light can that had her face on it. And we've known that Bud Light has partnered with, the folks for the pink tax, plenty of years before Dylan Mulvaney. This is not the first time that Bud Light has, been a part or shown love to the queer community. And that's where I call fake outrage and bullshit. So if we can go back, Kwame, could you run back the other picture of just like the rainbow bottles? This is not a new, this isn't like a new phase in. This is something that has been a Bud Light staple for like a couple of years. And they might not have done like this full bottle arrangement, and it might not have been something that they sold in stores, but I've always loved the way that Bud Light, Smirnoff, Diageo, the entire like brand of liquors and people like that go out of their way. So I just wanted to name that. But I also want to name, if we can go back to the other slide, Dylan is not the first person to have their face put on this Bud Light can. This is something that Bud Light has done for other influencers, celebrities, all of those people in the past. And it's also a very, it's a signature can just for Dylan. Dylan was not going to be on millions of Bud Light cans around the world. That was never the purpose of it. They just wanted to make sure that they could get a viral moment, and they figured to do this at the height of her career, at the height of her fame on social media, TikTok, all of the things, that it would be a nice touch to just send her a bunch of beer, pay her to, do a little 1-2 and put her face on a can, because it would be iconic. The brand understands that trans people, and especially overly, hyperly feminine trans women, are not their brand audience. But I think that what they were doing was trying to ensure that they had more buzz, and especially leading up to Pride, so that way when they launch their new Pride campaign, as I'm sure they will, right, people would have a better reception, because they would feel like, oh, well, they've partnered with Dylan before. Now, what I don't understand is why you would partner with someone who legitimately don't even drink beer. If I showed y'all that cringy ass post, and I should have had Kwame pull up some stuff, but once again, first episode jitters. Come back on the next one. Watch how I'm gonna flip it up on y'all. I'm gonna have clips, I'm gonna have posts, I'm gonna have like screenshots of the things. Just come back on the next post. If y'all think this episode is cute, come back on the next one. Catch me on the next one, okay? But anyway, if I show y'all this cringy ass video that Dylan posted, right? Y'all will see that this young lady does not even drink beer. They gave it to her for March Madness. She had no idea what March Madness even was. It was very clear that they missed the mark in choosing their trans spokesperson. There are plenty of trans women, even hyper feminine ones, that definitely drink beer. This was not the move. And beyond that, all it did was spark more controversy for other trans people to do the things. I've been told from the newsroom that we have the video. So I'm gonna go ahead and let y'all see this video, and then we're gonna discuss, because I still have thoughts.
Hi. Impressive carrying skills, right? I got some Bud Lights for us. So, I kept hearing about this thing called March Madness, and I thought we were all just having a hectic month, but it turns out it has something to do with sports. And I'm not sure exactly which sport, but either way, it's a cause to celebrate. This month, I celebrated my day 365 of womanhood, and Bud Light sent me possibly the best gift ever, a can with my face on it. Check out my Instagram story to see how you can enjoy March Madness with Bud Light and maybe win some money too. Love ya! Cheers! Go team! Whatever team you love, I love too. Okay. Love ya. Okay, break a leg. Woo!
Y'all heard that shit? Y'all heard that shit? Y'all saw that, right? Y'all saw what I saw. I just want to make sure y'all saw what I saw. Because in a world where we don't need no more drama in our life, I could have gone my entire life without having to ever see this white trans woman trying to live in her Audrey Hepburn moment while also promoting a beer that she don't drink and talk about a sport that she don't watch in the cringiest of ways that she could have possibly given it up. Okay? I ain't got the time or the energy. Now, what I will say is that this in turn sparked a lot of controversy, okay? This little thing had everybody from Kid Rock to your local whomever throwing a hissy fit and a temper tantrum. And this is where things get dangerous, right? Because people don't have access to Dylan. And I always tell people that when it comes down to the get down of all of the things, we need to be mindful of the people that we put on platform and pedestal and understand how, when they are platformed, they affect the people that are not. Because the people who have issues with Dylan are not going to be able to go to the Hollywood Hills where she lives in, you know, a gated community with round the clock security and be like, hey, bitch, come outside. But what they can do is go to their local gay bar, their local drag hour, their local whatever, and shoot up some shit in the name of being upset with Dylan. And all of this could have been prevented if we weren't trying to, one, pink wash some shit, and two, behave in this very performative way that serves no one. There's something that we have to discuss, which is the intersectionality of visibility. Being visible is very helpful in certain situations, but it's only helpful if we are also able to talk about what that visibility might cause for other people that don't necessarily fit the mold of what Dylan fits or whomever the respected person is. I've had this conversation about India Moore. I've had this conversation about Laverne Cox. I've had this conversation about Janet Mock, and the idea that when we're talking about protecting Black trans women and Black trans femmes, we're not necessarily talking about the people that sit at the top with doormen and, you know, live in the middle of Manhattan or have a home here and another home there. We're talking about the Cocos, the Keishas, the Ashleys. We're talking about the girls that's still over there on the pier. We're talking about the girls that you see on 79th in Miami. We're talking about the girls that are living in the gully in Jamaica. Those are the most marginalized of us that we're talking about protecting. And when you do things like this and you know that you're going to send people into a frenzy, those girls are even more at risk than they were before something like this happened. And those are the people that are going to experience the most backlash from this, because while Dylan was able to take a hiatus and move away from social media and come back with this bullshit ass, like, I don't understand why people were so mad and I just didn't even see the hate because it just got so thick at some point that I just turned it off and I unplugged. Yeah, bitch, it's easy to unplug when you don't have to show up at work. It's easy to unplug when you don't have a $100,000 contract coming down from Charlotte Tilbury. It's easy to unplug when you don't have to worry about the ways in which you're going to be vilified today at work simply because you showed up trans, but you can't quit because you need the job. It's easy to unplug when you don't have to worry about your landlord overcharging you because they can in your state, because there are unfair laws and bills that are being passed by the districts and not on a federal level. And so I think that there are some things that we have to be mindful of when we put people on platform like this and we start to talk about things like this, because it puts other folks at risk. And this shit ain't funny. And a lot of people like to turn around and sit back and say, oh, well, you're just jealous that it's not you, or you're just jealous that it's not blah, 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 blah. There are so many other folks that are well-equipped, well-versed, a part of the audience of people that could have been used for this campaign that would have shown us in a better light and in a way that would have humanized us to a group of people who often like to dehumanize us. And that was one of the things that Dylan did talk about when she came back from her hiatus, you know, and she said that she felt like she was dehumanized. And I saw that. But I think that to be dehumanized, right, by a group of people who you had already characterized yourself in made no sense. You showed up on screen basically in a cosplay of Audrey Hepburn. Like, can we run this picture? Like, can we move Hope out of the way? I just want y'all to look at this picture and hear my voice, okay? So when we talk about this, like, we have to be real, like, honest about the fact that this is unmistakable cosplay. This looks as if she was invited to a costume party, right? And she showed up as the person that inspires her, which clearly has to be old Hollywood glam. It's giving, you know, like, it's all of these things. She showed up in old Hollywood glam cosplay and was expected to be treated as herself. Bring me back in. And these are things that, if we're not mindful of, help to continue to perpetuate the idea that we can take this trans shit on and off. Because that was a costume. I don't know why I keep... This right here is a costume. This is not how you walk around on a daily basis. And you have to think about the effect of what that looks like to other people who already go into this with the intention to misunderstand you. And so to then come back as a victim while also holding on to $100,000 deals and giving none of those things back to anybody except the Trevor Project, how that reflects on you. I want to empathize with the fact that people shouldn't be out here, you know, painting your face on cans and doing all type of crazy stuff. But at the same time, we have to be very mindful about the things that we do that puts people in a way that we already knew that they were going to be in to begin with. And that's just my 2 cents. Those are my thoughts about Dylan. And I hope that people get it. The folks that get it. The folks that don't won't. And that's okay. But I just wanted to, you know, make sure that y'all understood this. And for the folks that understand, you know, it just is what it is and it ain't what it ain't. Fat meat still greasy and shit still stank. Now I have one more topic. And I want to surprise y'all with this one. Kwame, give them the last one. Let me just let y'all. Now look at my homegirl. Look at my sweet sister. Y'all see her? Y'all see how the mug is beat? Do you see how the mug is beat? But unfortunately, she's no longer with us, okay? And here is the kicker. For those of you all who don't know, for those of you all who can't clock it, this is Coco. She is one of the actresses from Kokomo City, which is a beautiful documentary that Lena Waithe has, you know, picked up, and they're taking it all over the world right now. Her, Daniela Carter, my other good sister, her name escapes me right now, but there are 3 Black trans women from New York who did a documentary where they talked about the idea of being sex workers. And Coco was a part of the movie, the documentary, but unfortunately she's no longer with us. And she's no longer with us, allegedly, because we still don't know the ins and outs, and I'm gonna give y'all my thoughts because of this little nigga. Run the clip. Run. This little nigga right here. This little nigga decided that he was going, okay, to murk my sister in cold blood and shoot her in the face. Now, let me be very mindful, and let me tell y'all something. Kwame, bring me back on up. I need them to see my full face. Just so y'all know, I don't like Coco. Do with that information what you will. Before Coco got taken up out of here, Coco read me and my auntie T.S. Madison for filth, bitch. Coco got on a live, girl, and she read us for filth. When I say Coco gave me a read, bitch, she gave me a read. So I don't really fuck with her like that. But I say that because I want y'all to understand that it's never personal with Hope Giselle. It's always about what's right. And that's why this next part that I'm finna say gonna really fuck y'all up. So, we had no real details about what had happened with this situation up until like this week, right? So we knew that Coco had unfortunately, been murdered. Because I don't want to say she passed away. She was murdered. He murdered her. And this was not an allegedly because he's already turned himself in. But I still got speculations. We gonna get there. Follow me. So we knew that Coco had been murdered. We did not know by whom until he turned himself in. I believe this was this Monday. He turned himself in. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna sit back. I'm gonna wait for the facts, because the one thing that Hope does not do is jump online to defend the girls until Hope gets the story, because the girls are still people. And even though I'm a trans activist, I also know that, bitch, the girls is the girls is the girls, the boys is the boys is the boys, the people is the people is the people, and people be lying, right? And sometimes people have nuances to their identity that we don't know nothing about. And I can't trust nobody's information but my own. I don't know about y'all, but that line on Players Club has stuck with me since the day I saw it. And so when it comes down to it, bitch, how you know you gonna pass? Because I don't trust nobody's information but my own, right? Which means I like to do research. And because after everything dropped on Monday, I was able to do that research, I found a very interesting piece of this story. And that is that this nigga, bring him back up, Kwame, this little nigga right here, bring him back up. That little nigga is 17 years old. And this is, once again, not an allegedly thing, because this was released from the folks over at Fulton County Police Department in Atlanta, which means that this is the information that was on his documentation when they booked him. 17 years old. Now, no tea, no shade. Bring up my sister. Bring up Coco. Okay. Coco is 35. Coco was 35. Now, I know some of y'all are like, damn, Hope, I was the same way. Because even though I don't necessarily particularly care for her, because that bitch gave me my motherfucking business before she got up out of here, the one thing that I will say is that I don't think that anybody deserves to be murdered, whether I like you, whether I got beef with you, whether we best friends, sisters, brothers, whatever the fuck the case may be. If it's wrong, it's dead wrong. And I'm never going to try to make it seem like it's okay or like it's right. And so in this particular instance, when we have a 35-year-old woman and we have a 17-year-old young man, and a lot of room for speculation because one of those people is no longer with us, we also have a problem. And where I want to hold accountability is my good sister Coco understands, because she understood. And if you've seen Kokomo City, you understand that her, as well as her two other castmates, understand very well how this looks for trans people, because they understand the climate that we are in when we are talking and discussing these issues. And so she knew that she had no business dealing with, bothering with, being in space with this young man for any reason, and especially not a sexual one. Now, here's where things get interesting, y'all. We don't know why they were dealing. We don't know why they were together. We do know, based off of the film and based off of things that, Coco has said herself, we do know that Coco was a sex worker. So there are speculations that he was a client, which, once again, girl, you knew better. There were also speculations that he was just serving her up some weed, but he was 17. So once again, I beg you, girl, you knew better. Either way you slice this cookie, Coco put us in a situation because of her untimely death. She's put herself in a situation, and she's put her trans sisters in a situation where now this case, instead of it being just about her being killed and murdered by somebody who is now admitting that he killed and murdered her, it's now about the fact that he's this teenage boy who was tricked by this grown man into this situation that he couldn't consent to, and all of this stuff, right? Now, bring up this picture of this little boy by himself again, because there's nuance. Let me tell y'all something. On any other given Sunday, for any other motherfucking reason, had this little boy walked up in anybody's courtroom for any motherfucking reason, everybody and their mama, including the black folk, would be like, oh, he did whatever the fuck they said he did. Because no tea, no shade, stereotype or not, there are some things that look the way that they look. And oftentimes, like they tell us, if it walk like a duck, quack like a duck, and all of that shit, it's a duck. This right here is a duck. Okay, this right here is a duck. This right here is a duck. But unfortunately, because of the narrative around transgender people in the world right now, people are not going to see this duck for a duck. People are going to try to make this duck a chihuahua. And then they're going to try to take this dog and put this little motherfucker in their room, forgetting that it's a duck and they have goose down feathers in their pillows. Okay? People are going to completely overlook the fact that this young man probably has priors and all the other shit that they pull out of the woodwork. Because my thing is, no tea, no shade, and I hate to say it. I hate it for this man. But this little boy look like he already got priors. Like he done robbed somebody a couple of times. Like he done had Grand Theft Auto and all that other bullshit underneath his belt before he turned 17, okay? Like no tea, no shade, not to stereotype the baby or read a book by the cover, but come the fuck on, okay? And in any other circumstance, we know that the system that be and the powers that be would be trying to paint him out to be this horrible person in order to justify the reason for why he need to go to jail for killing a woman. But because she's a trans woman, it's going to give, oh, but this young man, and he has such a bright future, and he's been troubled. And so you have this older man who was 35 years old. You know, they're going to use her dead name. They're not going to call her Coco. You know, they're going to give, oh my God, you know, he was taken in by this older man who he believed that they could trust, and all of this other bullshit that they're going to try to say. And they're going to pin this on not only Coco, but the trans community. And it's going to give way for all of their groomer and all of their pedophile and all of that bullshit sort of statements. And I hate it because she is not here to confirm, deny, or clarify anything. Because as far as we know, there are also speculations that this young man is not the young man that we saw in a video. Because there was also a small, like a short, like 3-second clip video of a man walking into Coco's home with her on the night of the killing. So there are also some people who are saying, this is not the same guy in the video. Like this clearly looks like a kid. The guy that was in the video was larger, whatever the case may be, yada, 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 blah, 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 blah. And so there are some people who are saying that they believe that this young man is taking the fall for an older person in his life who did it because they think that he's going to be charged as a juvenile. And because of the climate that we're in, he might not be charged at all, because we all know that Georgia is also a very red state that does not fuck with the girls. And so it's very likely that he might get in front of a judge who sees this as a child grooming case and it's thrown out. And now the real killer gets to walk away free. So that's also another like suspicion or, you know, something like that that's happening, is that really what it was that there was a John who Coco was probably seeing that was of age. Howsoever, after he did the do, he sent his nephew, you know, or somebody to come and take the fall, because it would have been less sentence, or there would be no sentence because of the current climate as it pertains to trans women in general. And I don't think that that's far-fetched. I think that, you know, if we look into the way that the world is seeing trans people and trans folks, and especially trans women, and especially when you talk about Black trans women, I don't think that it's too far off to think this, but I'm also feeling like, no tea, no shame, but a lot of the trade is not smart enough to think this up on their own. So it gives that the trade went to go get a lawyer, and the lawyer advised the trade of what had happened. Okay, that's what it's giving. It's giving that the lawyer was like, look, if you got somebody off the record that's willing to go in and do the things, I can help you spin it like this. But if you go in there and turn yourself in, bro, you gonna be made an example of. But based off of what we know from the culture, if you let so-and-so do this real quick, I can make sure he out by next month. You know what I'm saying? And I think that that is not a far-fetched idea of what could have possibly happened, because we've seen this before. We've seen lawyers be transmissic as fuck. We've seen them be, you know, all of the stuff. And for those of you all who are wondering what transmissic is, it is another word instead of saying the word transphobia or transphobic. Transmissic is the unadulterated, or I'm sorry, the unwarranted hatred of trans people rather than the unwarranted fear of trans people. And so when I say transmissia, or when I say somebody is engaging in transmissic behavior, I'm talking about a person who loathes, hates, or dislikes trans people with an unwarranted reason for why, right? And the same thing could be used for lesbians and gay men. So you would just use homomissia or homomissic behavior. And I want to use this because y'all know they be real quick to be like, oh, I'm not phobic, I'm not scared of y'all. No, you're not scared, but bitch, you don't like me. So you're transmissic as fuck, you're homomissic as fuck, you're engaging in homomissia, you're engaging in transmissia, and that's what I'm gonna treat it like. And there are a lot of lawyers that do lean into this, and we've seen this before. So with that being said, child, I think that it's not far off. We saw it happen with Malaysia Booker. After Malaysia was, killed, the lawyer who handled the case with the young man who was the defendant came out and was just transmissic and was like, my client had a fair fight with another man, so it wasn't like a big deal. And that really just took me up out of here. I don't really know what to really make of it. I'm just going to continue to follow the story. Of course, I am very just like upset that Coco is not here anymore, because regardless of our personal feelings about each other, nobody deserves to die, and especially like that. But also there are nuances that we have to discuss. And so I'm just going to keep, coming back to it, lay around for the show next week, and we can see like what comes of this. But y'all tell me what y'all think. What do y'all think about that whole Coco situation? Do y'all think that it was, way more than meets the eye? Do y'all think that, because she died, it shouldn't be no other conversation except for the fact, like, put him in jail? Do y'all think that his age should be factored into it? Like, what are y'all thinking? Because I don't, that one it's got me a little stumped, okay? It's got me a little stumped. So before we hop on up out of here, one of the things that I want to give y'all before I go every single week is an I have thoughts thought. Okay. So after all the things that I've said today, and after all of the things that I presented y'all with, I just want to give y'all my final thought. And my final thought is this: at the end of the day, people are going to do exactly what it is that they want to do. So allow them to be them while you're you. Go to the places and be in the spaces where you are wanted, where you are desired, and where you're loved. Stop asking people to give you the basic respect that they give to a dog or an elderly person on a regular, simply because they don't believe in who you are or how you show up in the moment. And don't continue to fight for people to see you as a human being. Anybody walking, riding, sliding, breathing with all the limbs and all the places that comes out of the people and do the things in the world to contribute, whether a motherfucker like it or not, is deserving of respect until they get disrespectful. And if you allow people to come into your space and make you feel like your entire existence is disrespect in and of itself, you've already lost, and you'll never get what you're looking for from them. So stop seeking it. When it comes down to it, the world is going to move the way that it moves, and you have to move back in respect to that. A lot of us don't want to match energies, but sometimes matching energy will save yours. Lead with that and go into the week with happiness in your heart. Until next time, I still got thoughts, and I'll talk to y'all later. Bye, everybody.
Talk to me nicely. I noticed they heated, we getting icy. Whoa, can't forget all the moments they overpriced me. So now that we up, don't good advice, we know.
If you enjoyed this content, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to Pyro Media Network's YouTube channel for more awesome content. Plus, don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss when we go live or upload new videos. Visit PyroMediaNetwork.com today, not just to check out our incredible roster of talented creatives, but also to gain access to exclusive bonus material available only to our Pyro fam. Show your support for this Black-owned indie network by donating today. Help us keep igniting brands everywhere.